Time's up.
Alright guys, 5:30 I see. Last sprint of the entire project. Shall we start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know I asked this question once in the class already, but I'm going to ask this one more time just to make sure you really got this. For whatever reason, folks, let's say we couldn't start our training at 5:30. We started at maybe 2 hours late, 7:30, because of whatever reason, some issue on my side. So in that case, would you say our sprint 3 has started at 7:30 IST or 5:30 IST, guys?
5:30 IST.
5:30. Even if we start our training at 7:30, sprint is going to start at 5:30. That's why we said sprint has got fixed start time and end time. No matter what happens, sprint is always going to start and end when it's supposed to start and end. In our case, 5:30 to 11. And what is the first thing that we should do inside any sprint, guys?
Planning.
Planning. Yeah.
Planning.
And is the planning happening inside the sprint, guys, or before the start of the sprint?
Inside the sprint.
Inside the sprint. That's why we said in Scrum, sprint is like a
Container box.
container within which everything else happens. And the first thing that we do inside any sprint is planning for that sprint. So let's go ahead and do the planning then, guys, for our sprint 3. Yeah. But before we do that, I would like you guys to take a look at our product backlog and see if you have any comments, observations about the product backlog, guys.
Three
Features have.
Three more features. Three new features are
Yeah. 3 new features got added, yes, and
one
got
got removed.
yeah,
One got
one
removed.
got removed. There was one feature called artifacts in the product backlog, if you remember yesterday, that got removed from the product backlog. And 3 new features called product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment have been added. And by the way, it is not an addition and removal, it's a replacement. So rather than having one big feature called artifacts, that got replaced with 3 smaller features called product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Because these are 3 artifacts in Scrum. So rather than having one big feature called artifacts, that artifacts got sliced or divided into 3 smaller features called
Product backlog, sprint backlog, increment.
backlog. And whenever any change like this happens, like we discussed in the class already, we don't expect those features, new features in the product backlog, in this case replace features, to have an estimate right away. They will be without estimate when they're added to the product backlog like this to begin with. Because who will be estimating any feature, guys?
product owner.
Product owner.
Developer.
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 Yes.
If product owner estimates, you know what will happen, right?
Yesterday.
Yesterday or -1 for any feature, right? It is the developers who has the understanding of the work to be done for a feature. That is why developers will be estimating, not product owner. And that is why when product owner is making any changes to the product backlog, adding a feature or slicing something like this, those new features in the product backlog will be without any estimate to begin with. And once the change is made, at some point, product owner will start talking to the developers about those changes in the product backlog, help the developers understand those new features in the product backlog, in this case, replace features. And whenever developers have all the required understanding of those features, they'll go and estimate those features. When will developers get time, guys, to understand these new features or replace features in the product backlog? We used a term for that, right? When do you think developers get time to understand these features in the product backlog and eventually estimate them, guys? I used a term for it.
Refinement.
Refinement. Yeah.
Refinement. Okay.
It is going to be happening in what is called as refinement. When will that refinement happen? What is refinement? We'll discuss today when we go to that relevant topic in the class. But for now, assume that you guys, developers in our project, got a chance to talk to the product owner about these smaller features. And based on your understanding of these features now, let's say you're estimating these features as so and so biryani so work, based on your understanding. Artifacts got replaced with 3 smaller features, and those 3 smaller features, developers with their understanding have estimated them as 1 biryani. So is everything okay with that estimate given for the smaller features, guys, or is anybody having any concerns with the estimate given for the smaller features?
I think.
Artifacts has.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mahesh. Sorry.
You said that artifact, all these 3 new features are part of artifact. In fact,
Correct.
the 3 are artifacts.
Correct.
So if artifacts is 7, then how can it be only?
Yeah, exactly. The estimate for artifacts, so 7 biryani so work. But if you look at the estimate for 3 smaller features that artifacts has been replaced with, the estimate for these 3 smaller features is only adding up to 3, not 7, guys. Is that okay or not okay?
Not open.
Okay, I would say it is actually okay. And what I want to help you appreciate by changing the estimate like that is because you should never estimate even your projects back at your office trying to add up to some previous number, a previous estimate. Remember, guys, whenever the estimation is done by the developers, estimation is done based on the subject to understanding of the team about that work at that time. There is no formula or calculations behind estimation. So whenever developers estimate artifacts in this case with whatever they knew at that time, they thought is about 7 biryanis of work. But as they learn more and more about artifacts in what is called as refinement, maybe developers and product owner realize we can work on this feature artifacts as 3 smaller features and decide to replace artifacts with smaller features. So now when developers going to estimate these new smaller features, they're going to be estimating these new smaller features based on what they know about that work item. If based on what developers know about those work items, if they think they're not as big as they thought before, so be it. Accordingly, developers estimate them as 1, 1, 1. If based on what developers know right now about that work items, if developers think these are much bigger than what they thought before, the estimate for these smaller features could have been even more than 7. So what I'm trying to help you appreciate, sir, you should never estimate any feature trying to add up to some previous number. Always estimate based on what you know about that work item, not to add up the estimate to some previous number is what I'm trying to help you appreciate. And I'm covering this because, guys, I don't know otherwise how many times I've seen the projects I've worked on where people keep debating, estimate was 30 hours before, why is it not adding up to 30 hours, as if there is some formula behind 30 hours. See, estimation is given by the developers based on what they know about that work at that time. As understanding evolves, developers may realize this is a bigger feature than what they thought or smaller feature than what they thought, and accordingly they should be estimating it. So never estimate to add up to some previous number. Always estimate based on what you know about that work item is what I'm trying to help you appreciate, guys. Make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone? Okay with that? Okay. So if you're okay with that, now that we understood the change in the product backlog, let's go ahead and start the work. And we said the first thing we should do is planning. But guys, before we do the planning, right, guys, for our sprint 3, if you remember, at the end of sprint 2 yesterday, we got a feedback. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we are going slow in our project. Right? At that time, we also realized that in our project, there is no scope for negotiation in time and budget. That's why we realize what is the only thing we can negotiate in our training, guys? We realize scope, right? Only thing we can negotiate is scope because time and money in our project are non-negotiable. So based on this feedback received, product owner, when you guys were probably busy with your office work today morning, product owner today morning was working hard talking to many business stakeholders. Based on the feedback he got at the end of sprint 2 yesterday, and based on the inputs from the stakeholders, now product owner decided to make some changes to the product backlog. One change on popular demand from you guys yesterday, product owner decided to change the priorities and bring certification not to the top, right after Scrum team accountabilities. Can that happen, guys? Can priority change like that in a product, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, up to the developers.
Has to make
Sorry,
sense.
up to the product owner. Sorry, what is that?
But even if the priority changes, it has to make sense that that product can be completed. That particular feature can be moved to the top. Certain features may require to be done in a certain stage through the
Dependencies to other things.
No, there are dependencies. Product owner don't know about dependencies, right? He knows about business priorities. And if there are dependencies, then developers will inform the product owner, hey, we can't complete certification without completing something else. And they're going to consider those technical dependencies as well, but the PO has the final say. Right? The final say on the priority is always with the product owner, but the priority could be influenced by the business value, what is more important to business, technical dependencies of the feature, other features, risk of not doing something, cost of delay, estimation given by the developers. All these things can influence the priority. But final say on the priority is always with the product owner. Okay, in this case, based on the feedback product owner got yesterday about where are we in the project, product owner decided to change the priorities and bring certification to not to the top, increase the priority of the certification topic. And product owner also decided to remove some features in product backlog, guys. Product owner decided now to remove product backlog, okay, sprint backlog, increment, ceremonies, velocity, and burn charts from the product backlog. Can it happen?
Yeah.
Can product owner remove items like that from product backlog?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's up to the product owner.
Yep.
I know some of you now must be thinking this guy is cheating us, okay? Asima is making himself product owner in the class and is doing anything he wants. If you ask any question, he says, I'm the product owner, man. So if you think I'm cheating, not covering all the topics, let's look at the topics I've removed from the product backlog. I've removed product backlog, guys. Do you think we talked about product backlog in the class already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes,
Multiple
yes.
times in the class. I would discuss about sprint backlog in the class already.
Right. Right.
In fact, we have been using sprint backlog to manage the work in our training right from the first sprint in our training. I will discuss about increment in the class already, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Potential realizable product F1 plus F2, F1 plus F2
Yeah.
plus F3, whatever, right? Integrated product built so far, meeting to a definition of done is called as increment. I will discussed about burn charts in the class already, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, we created and updated burn charts multiple times in the class. How about velocity, guys? I've discussed about velocity.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Again, multiple times. We calculated velocity 2 times in the class already at the end of every sprint. And ceremonies, right? Folks, ceremonies is a term. It's not an official Scrum Guide term, but people use this term ceremonies. I've seen in projects in their conversations. And when people use this term ceremonies, they're referring to these 4 meetings happening inside the sprint: planning, daily Scrum, review, and retrospective. Have we discussed about planning in the class already, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Done it at least 2 times, and we're going to be talking one more time when we do planning for our sprint 3 now. Have we discussed about review retrospective once in the class already, guys? Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to discuss one more time as part of Scrum framework topic. When we go back to the topic, we'll discuss one more time. And have we discussed about daily Scrum in the class already, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Daily Scrum? No, we didn't discuss.
Not fully.
People said yes for that also. No, we didn't discuss daily Scrum so far. But we're going to be discussing daily Scrum as part of Scrum framework topic. So whatever that ways the topics that I have removed from the product backlog looks like these topics are either already covered in our already covered in our training, or they're going to get covered as part of remaining topics in the product backlog. Do you guys agree with the statement? Whatever topics I have removed from the product backlog looks like these topics are either already covered in our training, or they're going to get covered as part of remaining topics in the product backlog. Everyone agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I make sure, guys, I get the acknowledgement from the participants that yeah, they agree whatever topics removed already covered or going to get covered later on.
Simba, what about artifacts?
So I come to this one second.
Okay.
Maybe you join a little bit late. Maybe 1 second we'll come to that. So the whatever topics I have removed, they are either already covered or they're going to get covered as part of remaining topics. And I get the acknowledgement because otherwise I'm worried some of you after this training might go out and start telling your friends that oh Banda Narasimha cheating karta, he cheats us, you don't cover all the topics in the training. And I'm worried if you start spreading such words, other people may not enroll for the next trainings I'm going to conduct. So jokes apart, I think you can now relate what I'm trying to do, right? So in the class, guys, I deliberately add more topics to the product backlog to make it look like we have a lot more work than what we can handle. And then use that scenario to discuss about negotiating on time, money, scope, blah, blah, blah. Right? So from the training point of view, whatever topics were removed are already covered, or they're going to get covered as part of remaining topics. But if you look at this as a training, as a project back at your office, you should look at it as product owner, based on the feedback he got at the end of sprint 2, product owner decided to negotiate the scope, and that way he tried to bring the product back on track. That's why I was telling somebody yesterday that you can't fix all the 3 constraints, time, money, and scope in your project and say everything must be met. At least one of the constraints should be negotiable. Since in our project, time and money are non-negotiable, product owner negotiate on the scope, and that way, product owner tried to bring the product back on track. Make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you understood the change in the product backlog, let's move on. Somebody was saying artifacts, right? Who's that?
No, I got it. I forgot that it is with increment.
Yeah, that got replaced with 3 smaller features, right, Mahesh?
Yeah.
And now product owner is saying product owner removed.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's go ahead and
So,
start.
one more minute. So ceremony includes sprint planning, daily scrum, review, and retrospective, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what people refer to when they use the term ceremonies in projects generally.
Okay.
So refinement is out of that sprint
Or
It is
within-
not out of the sprint. It is part of the sprint, but is not called as an event for a reason. What is refinement? We'll discuss later on in the class. Why is it not called as event? We'll discuss when we go to the topic in the class, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Refinement in Scrum is called as an ongoing activity, not an event. Why? We will discuss that in some time. So let's go ahead, guys, and start the work in our sprint 3. And what is the first thing we said we should do inside a sprint?
Planning.
Planning. But before we do the planning, if you
Goal.
remember yesterday, guys, we said we should probably have a
What about
question
goal?
backlog. Sorry?
What about goal before sprint goal? We have to set, right?
And that is part of planning, right, Ramya?
Okay, okay,
Setting up that goal is part of planning now.
okay.
That's what happens in planning. So let me quickly share a link. Guys, I'm gonna create a duplicate of it. One second, guys. I'm just trying to open a mural. So it is taking some time. Give me a second. Yeah. I'm just reusing what we used for introduction yesterday. Let me share a link for that mural, guys. So the mural I'm gonna share, there's post-it notes in it, few post-it notes. So if you want to add more post-it notes, because if you want to add more questions, you can just copy paste and create more post-it notes. For now, I have just added few. So can you please confirm you got the link in the chat, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So just use that anytime you have got a question that you think is not getting answered immediately. You can go ahead and use those post-it notes to create those questions, and we'll answer it whenever we're gonna go to the relevant topic, guys. Let me go ahead and start the work, and the first thing is planning, right? And sir, we talked about planning at least 2 times in the class. So rather than me teaching again about planning, I hope you're gonna guide me now on how to do planning, guys. So how is planning gonna start? What is topic 1 of planning, guys? Anyone? What is topic 1 of planning?
Propose a goal.
Goal of the
And who is gonna propose the goal?
Product owner.
Right? So planning starts with product owner proposing a goal for the sprint. And whatever goal product owner is proposing for the sprint, is it gonna be a business outcome, guys, or list of features?
List of features.
Business outcome. Business outcome.
Yeah, sprint goal is not list of features, guys. Sprint goal is a business outcome or a benefit you're all looking for, not the list of features developers are working on. As I said, sprint goal is more like I'm just muting somebody. More like why for the sprint, right? So when you look at the sprint goal for a sprint, we should be able to understand why are these guys doing whatever work they are doing in the sprint, right? That's why I said it's more like why for the sprint. Why are we doing whatever work we're doing in the sprint? So in our project, our business outcomes that we are looking for in this project, in this training, is more of learning concepts, because ours is a training project. So let's say, as a programmer now, I am proposing the goal for sprint 3 as, guys, in this sprint, I would like you guys to understand the concepts of agile, or why agile, not agile, why agile, and maybe Scrum framework and Scrum team accountabilities. So Prognos informing the developers. I'm hoping in this sprint you'll be able to understand the concepts of why agile, framework, and Scrum team accountability. So this is how topic 1 of sprint planning happens, guys. So where Prognos proposed the business outcome, asking the developers, this is what I'm hoping for from you guys. Please let me know whether you can do this or not. Now keeping this proposed goal, guys, in mind, what happens in topic 2 of planning now, folks? What happens in topic 2?
sprint backlog is created.
Now, what do you in topic 2 of planning? What do you select out of in the sprint backlog?
Features.
Features from the product backlog.
Yeah. Now topic 2 is about product developers. Looking into the product backlog and see what features in the product backlog they can take up into the current sprint in
Okay.
order to achieve the goal proposed by the product owner. And accordingly, developers going to choose the features. And while choosing the features, what are the factors developers should be considering, guys, for deciding the features to be taken up in the current sprint? What are the features? What are the factors they're going to be considering?
Bandwidth,
Bandwidth.
priority,
Priority,
sprint goal and
Bandwidth,
estimation.
estimate,
sprint goal, and estimation. Exactly. Sprint goal and estimation. These 4 factors are considered by the developers while choosing the features for the sprint. Right? So in this case, since you guys are developers, I'm asking this question to you. So do you want to take up this topic why agile, guys, in this sprint?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, developer said yes. So I'm gonna move this into sprint. The backlog, since you said you want to take it up. Do you want to take up one more, guys? You want Scrum framework in this sprint?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, developer said yes. So I'm gonna move this, so that makes it 8 already. Okay, anyway, you said yes. So do you want to take up one more, guys? You want Scrum team accountability in this sprint?
Yes.
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 I don't think
No,
we
no, we
can
can't.
finish.
Yeah.
No,
And whoever
Yes,
said
sir.
yes, on what basis you said we can take up Scrum team accountabilities as well? Don't tell me I said yes because I'm generally a positive person in life, I always think positively in life. Whoever said yes, we can take it up. You are basically saying yes to 7 plus another 8, 15 biryanis of work. What makes you, but looking at the performance of the team in the project, one of the factors is bandwidth. How much they're able to do in a sprint, guys, on average?
4.5.
4.5.
Maximum is 6. Then what makes you think like this team is gonna do like 3 times more work?
so this is the last sprint. We don't have any more sprints after this. The product owner has
Just
already
because-
told.
So just because it's the last sprint, the team cannot magically start delivering 10 times more work. That is not planning. What you said is more of in the name of God, miracles can happen and this team can do more work. Right?
Based on the previous performance, first sprint we did 3. So second sprint we did we increased 6. So we are assuming that this sprint we can do little more.
12.
Yeah, little more is okay. You already taken up little more, by the way. You already taken up
Yeah.
8.
Eight.
But taking up the other one will make it 15 biryanis of work. That's not little. That is more than 2.5 times more. So now let's take this situation. So it looks like some people, some participants in the class seem to be thinking, since they are improving sprint on sprint, they seem to be thinking they can do a little bit more work. Okay, while planning. But only challenge is, guys, the next feature in the product backlog is too big to get done in the time available now. So what do you do in the scenario, guys?
So
What
we
do you
can
do?
cut it or
So it is done.
cut into tasks.
Exactly. Rather than now
Small
taking
task.
entire Scrum team accountabilities, maybe the best option in this scenario would be to look at how do we slice this feature Scrum team smaller features, so that developers can take some of the smaller features based on the bandwidth they have got. So that way, developers are still going in the order of the priority, and they're also taking up only that much amount of the work that they believe they can complete with the time they have got. And whenever we think of slicing a feature, I guess, like this in the product backlog, always look at slicing that feature into smaller features, not tasks. What I mean is, if you say something like, in this sprint, we'll do the entire UI work for Scrum team. In the next sprint, we'll do the backend work for Scrum team, is not the kind of splitting we're talking about, guys. When we say split or slice in the product backlog, we are looking at slicing that feature into smaller features, not tasks, so that when developers take any of these smaller features independently and complete them, they're able to deliver some value to the business. So always look at slicing the features in the product backlog into smaller features, not into tasks, is what I'm trying to help you appreciate. I'll give analogy, guys, to help you appreciate what I just said. I hope you're looking at me on my camera. You see that I'm holding a post-it note in my hand, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
For some time, right? So assume this 10 rupee note, this post-it note as a 10 rupee note. By the way, I used to do this activity in my classes before, right? So using real currency notes. Yeah, after using real currency note in the activity for few classes, I realized I'm losing too much money. That's when I stopped using real currency notes and asked participants to assume some paper I'm holding as a currency note. So assume this as a currency note, 10 rupee note. One way of splitting this 10 rupee note would be to tear it off into pieces like this. Now you know why I used to lose money, right? So one way of splitting this 10 rupee note is to tear it off into 2 pieces like this. So to me, replacing a feature with technical task, right, guys, is equal to this kind of splitting. We're not doing this kind of splitting in the product backlog. to me, this kind of splitting is equivalent to replacing a feature with technical task. Because you can say entire UI work is over for the feature, but this is as good as useless until they complete even the back-end work for that feature, integrate both of them, there is no value to the business. That's why replacing a feature with technical task, I'll equate that to this kind of splitting. We're not looking at this kind of splitting in the product backlog, guys. Instead, we take the 10 rupee note from the product backlog and see how can we replace this with 2 5 rupee coins, or maybe 1 5 rupee coin, 2 2 rupee coins, 1 1 rupee coin, so that when developers take any of these smaller features independently and complete them, they're able to deliver some value to the business. So always look at slicing a feature into smaller features, not tasks, is what I'm trying to help you appreciate.
Yeah.
Make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you want to split Scrum team accountabilities, guys, topic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so during planning, developers inform the product owner, we can do a little bit more work, but the next feature is too big to get done. That's when developers and product owner would look at how do we slice the feature into smaller features. So anyone here has any suggestions on how can we slice this Scrum team into smaller features now, guys? Scrum team accountabilities?
Accountabilities of Scrum Master,
Yeah.
PO.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we can maybe do that, right? Rather than having one big feature called Scrum team accountabilities, we can have maybe separate topic for understanding product owner responsibilities, one for developers responsibilities, one for maybe Scrum Master. So that way, if you look at any of the 3 topics I mentioned now, when we take any of them independently and complete them, you guys as developers or as participants are going to learn something out of it. You're getting some value out of it. But replacing Scrum team with technical tasks would have been saying something like, in this sprint, let's do the activity for this feature. In the next sprint, we'll do the teaching. That's not that becomes more of slicing the feature into technical tasks. But in this case, we're slicing the feature into smaller features. So let's do that. Like I think Rajesh said, we're replacing a big feature called Scrum team accountabilities now in the product backlog with 3 smaller features called developers. Okay. Then product owner. And Scrum Master. And whenever any slicing of feature happens like this, like I discussed some time back, you don't expect the smaller features to have an estimate right away. They will be like this without any estimate to begin with.
Yeah.
And once the developers understand these smaller features, with their understanding, they'll go and estimate. So let's say in this case, with your understanding as developers, let's say we're estimating the features as so and so biryani so far. Artifacts with an estimate of 7 biryanis has been replaced with 3 smaller features called developers, product owner, and Scrum Master, which have been now estimated by developers as 2, 2, and 5. Is everything okay with the estimation done for smaller features, guys?
No. We've
Yeah.
increased.
Yeah. It
But
can
still
be,
is
right?
okay.
It can be right.
That's exactly what I said. In case of artifacts, artifacts, the estimate went down when we slice the features. Whereas in case of Scrum team, it is going up. That's why I said at the time, when you estimating a smaller feature, you should estimate based on what you know about that work, not to add up to some previous number. So in this case, with whatever developers know right now, they seem to be thinking these features are bigger than what they thought, and accordingly they estimate them as 2, 2, and 5 with what they know right now. So do you want to take up developers topic in this sprint, guys?
Yeah.
We can.
Okay, you said yes.
We covered that already, no?
Again, I asked the question yesterday, right? Who is going to tell you the requirement of a feature, Swati?
PO.
Definitely.
Who will tell you the requirement of a feature?
You
Product owner, yeah. So I am the product owner, so I should first tell you what is the requirement, right? How do you know it is covered already? Maybe it is
Right.
what we're supposed to cover, right? But now with your understanding, we're estimating them as so and so biryanis. And
Okay.
developers with that estimate are saying, yeah, maybe we'll take up developers also. That makes it 10 already, okay? Do you want to take up one more, guys, even problem in this sprint?
Yeah. No.
Yeah? Guys, you want to take a problem topic as well in this sprint?
I don't think so.
How much is the 8 plus
I
2,
think
10?
Scrum Master is more in priority.
Rajesh, who decides the priority, Rajesh?
Product owner.
Rajesh?
Product
Product owner,
owner.
right? I'm the product owner here, okay? And I'm telling you, product owner topic is more important than Scrum Master. And you have to go in the order of the priority in that case, right?
Yeah.
So already taken up 10 biryanis. So I'm asking you, do you think you can take another 2 biryanis in the current sprint? Or it is already
No, that will be a bit of stretch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe okay. Let's say developers are saying there is a bit of a stretch. Maybe they'll only would like to go with these three
Like
topics.
6 to 12, yeah.
So after this kind of conversation in topic 2 of planning, in a way developers are informing product owner Narasimha, we can only take up these 3 topics. We can't do more than this based on the bandwidth you have got. Now the developers have decided what features they can take up into sprint 3. Are you as developers, are you informing the product owner whether you can achieve this goal, guys, proposed by the product owner for sprint 3 or not possible?
No.
Sorry?
So, partly possible.
Part-
So it is not. No.
Not possible, right? In a way, because the goal talks about understanding Scrum team accountabilities as well.
Yeah.
Whereas with the topics you have chosen, you can only understand about Agile, Scrum framework, and developers accountabilities. We don't have time. We're not able to understand entire Scrum team,
Yes.
right? So maybe that's why after this kind of conversation, developers will be informing the product owner in topic 2. Sorry, we can't achieve this goal, Narasimha. We can understand developers accountabilities, not entire Scrum team. We don't have bandwidth to do that. So based on this input now from the developers, product owner is going to probably say, okay, if that is the case, I understand, guys. I'm going to replace Scrum team accountabilities with developers accountabilities. Maybe now developers going to say, now this is something that we believe we can achieve. So now the developers are confirming, yeah, this is something that we can achieve. This becomes our finalized goal for our sprint 3. Until now it was only a proposed goal. After this kind of discussion and tweaking if necessary, and developers confirming, yeah, this is something that we can achieve, this has become the finalized goal for our sprint 3. So this is how topic 2 of planning happens, guys. I'm sorry, in topic 2 of planning, after this kind of discussion in topic 2 of planning, in a way developers and product owner agreed upon. What do you think developers and product owner agreed upon, guys, in topic 2 of planning? What did we agreed upon in topic 2 of planning?
What can
Why
be
are
done?
you-
We agreed upon what features we can take up in the current sprint,
Yes.
and we also agreed upon why, or maybe
Why?
that is sprint goal.
Yes.
So this is how topic 2 of planning happens, where the developers and product owner agreed upon why and what sprint goal for the sprint, as well as what features they're going to take up to achieve that goal. Now that we agreed upon why and what will be discussed in topic 3 of planning, guys? In topic 3,
How?
How?
Adding the technical tasks.
right, where the developers now will start looking into what are the different technical tasks that they believe they should take up to build whatever features they identified for the current sprint. And one question here, sir, do you think developers should list out every single task that they're going to take up in the entire sprint completely in planning only?
No,
As much
it
as
can be done.
possible.
in-
As far as possible.
It can be done
Very good.
later.
Let's say there's a 2 week sprint, 3 weeks, 3 sprints. Do you think developers should list out every single task that they're going to take up in the entire 3 weeks right in planning only?
No.
No.
I would say, sir, not even possible or not necessary. So if developers have identified enough tasks in planning for them to say something like, man, we're good to go, we can start our work now, that's good enough. And throughout the sprint, developers can keep adding more technical tasks, or they can even remove some. That's why if you remember, we said the sprint backlog can change anytime during the sprint, right? So when the developers have identified enough tasks in planning for them to say something like, we're good to go now, we can start our work now, that's good enough. And throughout the sprint, they can keep adding more technical tasks, or they can even remove some from the sprint backlog. And it is also good practice. Sir, I'm using the word good practice. I'm not saying mandatory if you look at my language. It is a good practice to even add retrospective action items to the sprint backlog. Remember, guys, we discussed about retrospective
Yes.
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
And in the retrospective, do you discuss about product or process?
Process.
Process.
The process.
Discuss about process. And in the retrospective, developers, we even identified some action items that we believe we should take up to improve the way we're going to work in our project, in our training. So good practice to add up those retrospective action items to the sprint backlog. Not going to add all. What I mean is, if you have 10 retrospective improvements identified, it is not necessary that all 10 will be taken up in this sprint only. But whatever the Scrum team has decided to take up in the sprint, good practice to even add those retrospective actions to the sprint backlog. That way, the Scrum team is using the sprint backlog to even track their retrospective action items. So this is how planning happens, guys. We're done with planning now for our sprint 3. What is the output of sprint planning, guys? What did we get from sprint planning?
Sprint backlog.
Sprint goal and
Goal. Goal and the backlog.
sprint backlog, right? Sprint goal and sprint backlog. Can sprint goal change once planning is over, guys?
No.
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 Can sprint backlogs in month planning is over?
Yes.
Sprint backlog can change, but not sprint goal, right? So we're done with planning in this case. We got our sprint goal and sprint backlog ready. What next after that, guys? What do you think we should do now after planning?
Implementation.
Start the work. Any sprint, once the planning is over, developers focus throughout the sprint is going to be on doing whatever is required now to meet the goal by end of the sprint. But before we start that work, shall we create something, guys, to track the work in our sprint?
Yeah.
Burn down chart. I remember we were using a burn down chart to track the work in every sprint, guys.
Yes.
But you know what, sir? For a change, I'm going to say, let's do our sprint 3 without using burn down chart. And by doing that, I want to help you appreciate that burn down, burn up are not part of Scrum. So guys, until now in the class, right, I've been managing the training like we typically manage a product back at our office. But in this topic, Scrum framework that we're going to cover today, I'm going to help you appreciate what practices we discuss in the class are part of Scrum, what practice we discuss in our class are not part of Scrum. And just to bring the thought process, I'm telling you that burn down, burn up are not part of Scrum. When I say not part of Scrum, what I mean is if you look at Scrum Guide, right, which is defining Scrum framework, Scrum Guide is not listing burn down, burn up as part of Scrum framework. But if you believe these graphs can help you in your projects, you can use them on top of your Scrum framework, but they're not mandatory in Scrum.
Okay.
What else is part of Scrum framework? What else is not part of Scrum framework as defined in the Scrum Guide? You will know that by the time we cover this topic. For example, guys, can somebody say, we're going to be working on a Scrum project without using sprint backlog, guys?
No.
Can somebody say we're going to do a project in Scrum without using sprint backlog?
No.
Definitely not, because by definition of Scrum, sprint backlog is part of Scrum. So what else is part of Scrum, not part of Scrum? You have better clarity when you cover this topic. But guys, in terms of learning about burn down, burn up, I hope you agree that we talked about how to create, how to update them multiple times in the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that reason, I'm skipping that for sprint 3. And by doing that, I want to help you appreciate that we can even work on projects in Scrum like that without using burn down chart or burn up chart because they're not part of Scrum. So let's assume developers are saying for sprint 3 we don't require any burn down chart. We're gonna track the work in sprint 3 by using sprint backlog. That is enough. We don't need any burn down chart. It's all right to say that because burn down, burn up are not part of Scrum. So now that we decided not to use any burn down, burn up charts for our sprint 3, so now we're gonna start our work to meet the goal by end of the sprint. But before we start that work, by starting with YSL, I'm gonna pause and see if I have any questions on what we discussed so far. People have questions, so let's take those questions. Remember we said we're gonna teach and take questions, guys, yesterday.
Yes.
So let's try to implement that. We completed planning now, so I'm gonna pause, take questions on what we discussed so far, then we can go to YSL, guys. So Anuj.
Yeah, so my question is that for all the Scrum ceremonies, we will give some dedicated time.
Yes,
Like,
there is. And we'll talk about it, we'll talk about Scrum framework. We have a feature that's called Scrum framework, right? And when we go into this topic, we'll talk about everything about such events, right? So what all we do in the event, purpose of it, duration, who all participates, all that we'll discuss in the topic. Okay. Mahesh.
Yeah, my question was, if we do not use burn down, burn up charts, what is the way of measuring progress? Is it just
Looking at the sprint backlog.
okay?
For example, by 10 p.m. in our sprint 3, if you only complete by agile, we have another 2 topics remaining. Are we going okay or are we going slow?
Going slow.
Slow. Yeah. That way also we can assess using our sprint backlog. Mahesh. Yeah. Shamal.
Yeah, so so when it is already decided that you have only 3 sprints in this particular thing to complete, and when we are not able to complete, so it is the half product which is given to the client, not the full one. So is it okay, or should we put it in the sprint and then try to achieve that particular thing?
Try to achieve in the same 3 sprints, is it?
Yeah.
Now, try to achieve, that is what you did, but you're not able to achieve.
Yeah, so but then you are not putting in your backlog, so you will not be anyways doing it, right?
And
What I'm saying. So if, say for example, you have put till developer, you have not put Scrum Master and the other thing in the backlog.
Correct. That means
So
we will
you
complete.
will not be doing those things, right?
No, we will not. See, if we complete them early, we will see. But even if we add them, developers are saying we believe with what we know we can't complete them.
Yeah.
So then what is the point of taking up, until the expectation? It is better to set the expectation right now to the product owner saying, hey, with what we know, we can't complete what you're looking for in 3 sprints.
Okay.
Then trying to take up and by the end of the sprint, sorry, we can't complete.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And also, Kshamal, just because you start a project thinking that we will build a project in 3 sprints, there is no guarantee we'll complete. It's only an estimate. Yeah, if it is a half product, like you said, and it is not acceptable to business, then PO would have extended the project by another 3 sprints.
Mm-hmm.
Or PO would have said, I'll add more people to get the work done faster. Or PO might say, whatever you built, that half product is also acceptable for now, so I will not add more time or money. I'll go live with the half product and we'll see the next features in the next release.
Okay. Okay, got it.
It's still the business call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we said multiple times, just because you want something, there is no guarantee you'll get it in the project. It's only an estimate.
Right.
Scrum, if you use Scrum, it can only guarantee faster feedback in projects, but not success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ravi.
Sure. Thanks.
I just want to confirm one thing. Like the sprint, the sprints what we get up in the, I mean, like it can go maximum for 1 month, right?
The sprint duration is maximum 1 month, correct?
Right. And kickoff meetings only happens in the beginning of sprint, before the sprint. Right?
Yes, before sprint 1, it happens only once, that's it.
And when we start the sprint 2, does the kickoff meeting again happens?
No. Kickoff is happening only once at the beginning of the project.
Oh.
And one more thing, kickoff is not one meeting, Ravi. You said kickoff meeting. See, in the example you see on my screen, kickoff is going for 20 days.
Right.
One meeting will not go for 20 days, right? So kickoff
Right.
is not just one meeting, all the preparation to get what is required, hiring, blah, 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 including the so-called meeting you said, all of them put together is called as kickoff. Yeah? All right,
So, product that backlog features are also proposed there, right? It's not confirmed, right? Just in kickoff meeting, the product backlog items, features are proposed there, right?
Yeah, propose based on what product owner knows right now. As of now, product owner is thinking I would like to see all these features, but it can change later on. PO might remove something later on.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. During the during the kickoff itself, they'll propose it, but the estimation will happen only when after that, right?
In the kickoff, kickoff also estimation happens. Right?
Okay.
In the kickoff, you can estimate some features, and if not all.
So the during the kickoff itself, developers and product owner will negotiate on that, and they'll do it. Is that right?
They will estimate, yeah. Not negotiate, they'll understand. The developers will understand the business requirement of the features in the product backlog.
Okay.
So kickoff में क्या होगा? पहले product owner is showing explaining the overall goal, and product owner talks about the initial product backlog he has got. And when developers understand the business requirement in those features, they'll even go and estimate the features.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to say is, need not be all. If there are 50 features, right, in the product backlog, developers might say, for now we'll estimate only 10,
Okay.
and we'll start working on them.
Okay.
And as we work on the features in the subsequent sprints, they will start estimating the next features that they're going to work on sometime soon.
Okay.
In what is called as refinement. And we'll discuss that refinement in some time.
Okay.
That was the last question, guys. Looks like, so let's start the work then. We are done with the planning. We got our sprint goal and sprint backlog, and we're starting the work now to meet the goal by the end of the sprint. And that work in our case is about covering the topics. So let's start that work with Why Agile, guys. And as you can guess from the estimate given for Why Agile, guys, it's small. It's a small topic, I mean. And in this topic, I want you guys to understand where to use Agile approaches, where we cannot, guys. But before we talk about this, I would like to take a couple of minutes to first explain the difference between the terms Agile and Scrum. Somebody in fact asked that question in the class. By the way, even if nobody asked that question itself, usually in all my Scrum trainings, I cover the difference between these two terms, Agile and Scrum, because my experience, right, guys, especially people who are new to this Agile world, most of them are using these two terms, Agile and Scrum, interchangeably, as if they're one and the same. In fact, some people use both the terms together, okay? You go and ask these guys, hey, what framework you use in your project? They say, Agile Scrum, Agile Scrum. So nothing like Agile Scrum, okay? Agile alag hai, Scrum alag hai. Agile is different from Scrum. So let's understand the difference between these two terms. whatever we discussed in yesterday's topic, Agile Manifesto, right? Those 4 values and 12 principles that we discussed in the topic yesterday put together is what is called as Agile. So Agile is a set of values and principles. Sometimes people say it's a mindset or it's a way of thinking. And Scrum is a framework that is telling us what all we should do in our projects in order to achieve the values and principles that Agile is asking us to aim for. So if you look at Agile in the form of values and principles, Agile is not telling us how to achieve certain things. Agile in the form of values and principles is only telling us what are the good things we should aim for, but not telling us how to achieve it. For example, one of the values in Agile says, focus more on people compared to process. Focus more on people over process. But Agile is not telling us how to achieve that value in our projects. It is only telling us what should we aim for. Focus more on people over process, but not telling us how to achieve it. So that's when a framework like Scrum comes into the picture and say, in order to achieve the values and principles that Agile is asking us to aim for, you should do blah 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 in your projects. That's why I said Scrum is a framework that is telling us what all we should do in our projects in order to achieve the values and principles that Agile is asking us to aim for. Let me give an example, so to make sure you understood what I said. So to me, I guess Agile is more like an Indian guru or someone like Baba Ramdev saying something like you should all live with good health. So when you hear an Indian guru saying something like you should all live with good health, you must be wondering, man, this is nice to hear, okay, but how the hell I do this? Agile is like Baba Ramdev saying live with good health. He's not telling us how. That's when a framework like Scrum comes in the picture and say, in order to live with good health, you should wake up in the morning and do some yoga. You should have warm water with lemon every day in the morning. Don't drink too much of daru every day. So Scrum that way is telling us what all we should do in our projects in order to achieve the good things that Agile is asking us to aim for. Make sense, guys?
Yes.
So what is Agile, guys? Please don't tell me Baba Ramdev, okay? What is Agile?
It's values and principles.
What is
A
that?
set of values and
Set of
Set of
values
values
and
and
principles.
Or
Or a
the
mindset
mindset.
or a frame. Yeah.
a way of thinking. A way of thinking. What is Scrum?
It's a framework.
Framework.
It's a framework to apply those, how to achieve those principles and values.
Can be used to achieve the values and principles that Agile is asking us to aim for. In many books, right, guys, including the workbook I have given you, Agile is represented as a generic umbrella term. Agile is represented as a generic umbrella term, representing a set of values and principles. I hope it is looking like an umbrella, guys.
Yes.
More like a mushroom.
Mushroom, yeah.
Yeah, you are right. Now that you have heard, yeah, I agree with you, but please assume it as an umbrella for now. So Agile is a generic umbrella term representing a set of values and principles. And Scrum is one of the frameworks. Scrum is one of the frameworks, not the only framework. Scrum is one of the frameworks that we can use in our projects in order to achieve the values and principles that Agile is asking us to aim for. So I said Scrum is one of the frameworks. I didn't say only framework. What are the other frameworks that you guys are aware of, guys?
Kanban.
Agile framework, yeah, Kanban, what else?
ABB.
Programming, yeah, XP, Lean, DSDM, right? Scrum, FDD, Crystal. There are many frameworks like this which also can be used to be agile. Of all the frameworks, the most commonly used one is Scrum, guys. In fact, more than 2/3 of agile projects are being done in Scrum, guys. Maybe that's why maybe most of us or most people are getting into agile through Scrum. Maybe that's why most people start believing that Scrum is the only way to be agile, which is not correct. There are many other frameworks like Scrum which also can be used to be agile. Scrum is one of the frameworks, but most commonly used framework. Make sense, guys?
So I think usually Kanban are also gaining popularity now.
Yeah, of course. Usually Kanban is also used, XP is used, but most commonly used one is Scrum. Just to make sure, guys, you understood what I said correctly. One quick question: if I say agile is Scrum, true or false, guys? Agile is Scrum. True or false?
False.
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 If I say Scrum is agile,
No.
True.
Is a part of Agile, right?
Scrum can be agile.
Yeah, but if I say Scrum is agile, is that right or wrong?
No.
Is it a part of Agile?
Like,
No.
What do you mean a part of agile?
I mean, it's a framework, right?
Yeah, but Scrum by implementing Scrum, you will be agile, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So in that case, Scrum is agile is true or false?
True.
Scrum is yet true. It
True,
comes in
true.
under same umbrella.
But agile is not Scrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrum is one way to be agile, not the only way. And many times in projects, guys, I mean, including me, people sometimes casually make statements like, we are doing our project in agile, or they say we are doing agile in our project. Strictly speaking, is saying something like doing agile is incorrect. Well, what is agile, guys? We said what is agile?
Set of
Values
values
and
and
principles.
principles,
Values and
mindset.
principles, right? Or a mindset. How
mindset,
can you
yeah.
do a mindset? Or how can you do a value? That's why saying something like doing agile is incorrect. More appropriate thing to say, okay, we are agile in our project by doing Scrum, or we are agile in our project by doing Kanban, or we are agile by doing blah 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 framework, rather than saying we are doing agile. So guys, when you go back to office tomorrow after this training, and if your boss is saying something like we are doing agile, go and tell your boss, you don't know what you are talking about. But please be careful, okay? Get the reimbursement approval for this training before you make such statements, okay? From that guy. Otherwise, he or she might say, man, acting smart after attending the training. But when people say we are doing agile, they mean we are doing one of the agile frameworks. Even better would be to say we are agile by doing blah 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 framework rather than saying we are doing agile.
Yes.
Make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Or asked that question yesterday or day before yesterday, what is agile, what is Scrum? Good. Understood?
Yes.
And I hope you're going to use these terms appropriately in your conversations going forward.
Yes.
Alright, so let's move on then. In the topic why agile, I also told you, I would like you guys to understand where to use the approach, where we cannot. So before I discuss this in the class, or to help me discuss this in the class, I would like you guys to read one page in the workbook. I'll tell you which one. And it's going to be individual activity, guys, which means you're not going to go into the breakout rooms. You're gonna just do it on your own. It is an individual activity. And I would like guys to read one page number 8, guys. Page number 8 in the workbook with the heading Why Agile. There are only a few lines as you can see in page number 8. So I'll give you 1 minute to read page number 8 in the workbook, guys. Please go ahead and read page number 8. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, time up, guys. 1 minute. For some reason, it didn't play the music this time. I hope everybody read that one page. Everyone?
Yes.
Small page, right? So let me ask you a few questions on what you read there before I take up any of your questions, right? So based on what you read in the page number 8, guys, for what kind of projects you think agile approaches gives us maximum benefit, guys? Maximum benefit?
Complex.
Simple and complicated.
Complex.
So higher the ambiguity associated with a project, more would be an advantage of using an agile approach. So for complex projects, we're going to get maximum benefit. How about, can you use it for simple projects, guys? Can you use agile approach for
Yes.
projects?
Yes.
How about for complicated projects?
Yes.
Yes.
Complicated. Yes.
Yes. How about anarchy?
No.
No. This is
In
difficult.
case anyone here is not going to affect you for anarchy. In case anyone here is wondering what anarchy means, let me explain before I take your questions. So the graph you see in page number 8, right, folks, is called as Stacey matrix, guys. Stacey matrix or Stacey graph. Stacey graph, okay, not Steffi graph. for people who follow tennis. Stacy matrix or Stacy graph. And Stacy matrix is more like a thinking model, guys. So what Stacy matrix is telling us is, guys, you cannot approach every problem in your life, every situation in your life exactly the same way. So you got to assess what kind of problem you deal with, what kind of situation you're going to deal with, and use an appropriate approach to handle the situation or project. And Stacy matrix is classifying those problems or projects that we deal with into different domains called simple, complicated, blah blah blah, based on level of ambiguity we expect to encounter while working on the particular project. And it is assessing the level of ambiguity we expect to encounter in a particular problem situation in the graph based on two parameters. One, level of requirement uncertainty expect to encounter in the particular project, plot on x-axis of the graph, and level of solution disagreement expect to encounter, plot on y-axis. So based on these two parameters, level of requirement uncertainty and level of solution disagreement that we expect to encounter in a particular project, Stacy matrix is trying to assess the level of ambiguity we expect to encounter, and accordingly it is classifying the projects into simple, complicated, complex, and argue domains. For example, guys, a simple domain problem or project would be where requirements are straightforward. You don't have to really spend a lot of time. Understanding the requirements. You'll be able to understand quickly what needs to be done. And even solution disagreement in that project is going to be almost zero. So that will be more like a simple domain problem where both requirement uncertainty and solution disagreement that we expect to encounter is almost zero. So I'll give an example to help you appreciate that. For example, guys, let's say somebody is asking you, hey, can you please fill this bottle with water? Somebody is asking, hey, can you please fill this bottle with water? So do you think you need to spend a lot of effort to understand the requirement of what needs to be done in this task?
No.
All right. With a couple of questions to understand what needs to be done, you might ask, hey, how much you need? Do you need hot water or cold water? You know what needs to be done. The requirement uncertainty associated with this task of putting water in this bottle is almost zero. Or do you think, guys, people should spend like weeks or months to debate, discuss, to decide how to put the water in this bottle?
No.
Right? In a couple of minutes, you can figure out. Maybe you might say, use the dispenser, man. Use that pipe. Use that glass. You're done. So both requirement uncertainty and solution disagreement expected to encounter while doing this task of putting water in this bottle is almost zero. That's why putting water into this bottle is more like a simple domain problem, because both requirement uncertainty and solution disagreement expect to encounter while doing this task is almost zero. That's why this is more like a simple domain problem. So compared to this, I'm going to probably keep enhancing an existing product. Let's say there's a stable running product in production and we're enhancing it now. I'm going to keep the stable enhancement that we do for a stable running product more into complicated domain, because there is some ambiguity that we expect to encounter while enhancing an existing product, but that is going to be a lot less compared to developing a brand new product. That's why enhancing an existing product, I'll keep in more in complicated domain, but compared to that, I'll probably keep developing a brand new product from scratch in the complex domain, because there is a lot more ambiguity we expect to encounter while developing a brand new product from scratch compared to enhancing an existing one. That's why enhancements I'll put more into complicated domain, but compared to that, I'm going to probably keep developing a brand new product in the complex domain. In the same way, if the ambiguity we expect to encounter is even more, that's when we're going to enter this domain called anarchy. In anarchy, the level of ambiguity we expect to encounter is so high that no framework or process can help us in dealing with anarchy situations. Because the ambiguity in anarchy is so high that we cannot think and decide what is the next best step. You can only act on your gut feel. You cannot think logically what is the next and decide what is the next best step. You should only go by the gut feel there and act on it. Only after acting or taking the step, you get the feedback whether the step is appropriate or not. Before that, there is no way for you to be able to decide which step is appropriate, because the ambiguity is so high. And because you cannot think and decide what is the next best step, and you have to go by gut feel, no framework, neither Scrum, nor Kanban, nor Waterfall can be used in dealing with anarchy. There you have to just go by gut feel. For simple, complex, and complicated domain problem situations, you can use agile approach to your advantage. Whereas anarchy, you just have to go with gut feel. So I'll give an example so to help you understand anarchy. Or let's say touch wood, God forbid, there is fire in the building you are in now suddenly. Imagine this, you see that smoke is coming from all over the place in the room you are in now suddenly. A lift has stopped working, power has gone off in the building, and with the smoke in the building you're finding it difficult to breathe now. And with the smoke the visibility has become almost zero, but you can hear people crying, shouting, running around, trying to exit the building. Imagine the situation. If you are in that kind of situation, guys, are you gonna say, let me do sprint planning and figure out how to exit the building?
No.
Some people are not answering, guys. Are you gonna do that?
No.
No, honestly.
Please don't say by tonight I'll become CSM certified anyway, right? So I have to do sprint planning. Not gonna work out. And imagine there are 2 fire exits in the building, guys. And I just told you the situation you are in. You don't know the reason or the reason behind the fire. You just know what is going on that I explained. In that situation, can you logically decide whether taking exit A would be safe or exit B would be safe? Can you decide that logically?
No.
What
No.
when here?
Yes.
But how do you know nearest one is safer?
Yeah.
It's just the gut feel, right? So in that situation, because the ambiguity is so high, there is no way for you to logically decide and take what is the next best step. There you have to just act first and take one of the exits. Only after taking the exit, you would realize whether it is safe or not. For example, like somebody said, you took the nearest exit. But as you go down through that exit, you sense that heat is increasing drastically. And you see fire also on the staircase as you go down. That's when maybe you think like something is wrong here, man, I'll go and try the other exit. But before you take that exit, there is no way for you to know which exit is safe, whether the exit is safe or not. So because the ambiguity is so high in the situation, you are acting first on your gut feel. Only after acting, you get the feedback whether this particular exit is safe or not. You cannot decide logically what is safer and then take it. You have to just act first, then only get the feedback. Because the ambiguity is so high. That's why no framework in those scenarios can help us, neither Scrum nor Waterfall nor Kanban. For example, war-like situations, natural disasters, Corona to begin with. No framework or process can help us in dealing with this kind of scenarios. There you have to just act on your gut feel. But for simple, complex and complicated domain projects or problems, we can use agile approaches to our advantage. But if you're dealing with anarchy, the only option is, in the name of God, do what you feel like and hope it is going to work for you. You can't do anything better for anarchy. But for simple, complex and complicated domain problems or projects, you can use agile approaches to your advantage. Make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Small topic, as I said, I just want to help you understand where to use agile approaches, where we cannot in this topic. So now that we just discussed where we can use, where we cannot use agile approaches, I think we are done with this topic by agile, guys. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And whoever said yes, and how are you saying it is done?
Definition of done, right?
It doesn't ask
Yeah,
you whether
yeah.
the
Teaching complete
question,
on this topic,
the
guys?
question.
Teaching complete?
Teaching
Yes.
complete.
Yeah.
Questions
Teaching
complete.
complete? Activity complete?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
with
What was the
examples.
activity? What was the activity for this topic?
Live
Visual
examples.
Yeah, you read that one page, right? That was more like an activity. Activity does not go into breakout rooms only, right? Reading that page was an activity for this topic, so activity completed. Do you have any more questions on this topic, guys?
no.
Okay? No more questions on this topic. So, by ODOD, can you call this topic as done?
Yes.
Yes.
What next?
Scrum framework.
Before we go to the topic, shall we update something?
Backlog.
Gone down, sir.
Burn down.
We're not doing it today.
We are not doing it today, right?
Count down chart mandatory in Scrum?
No.
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 No,
And in
not
this,
mandatory.
in this sprint, we decided not to use it. So, nothing to update now actually for us.
Yeah.
We can go to the next topic now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we go to the next topic, sir, I'm going to ask questions and this